Welcome to Linden Capital Advisors, where financial freedom is just around the corner. Today we'll be taking a look at Mark and Debbie Brown's current tax and estate plan. First of all, we'll review their current tax situation. Next, we'll take a look at their projected tax plan. And finally, we'll take a look at their current estate plan. First of all, let's take a look at their 2023 adjusted gross income. This gives us an idea of where they have been tax-wise. So they had gross income of $250,000. That came from Mark's salary at Texas Tech University. They also had long-term capital gains and qualified dividends and interest of $1,545. And then with that income, we had pre-tax retirement contributions of $20,500, as well as other pre-tax payroll deductions of $16,625. So those two came from retirement plan contributions. And this leaves us at adjusted gross income of $214,420. Moving on now to their projected tax liability for 2024. So their gross income is expected to be about $286,010, and this includes Mark's salary of about $250,000 and Debbie's inherited IRA RMDs, as well as capital gains, dividends, and interest. Their regular federal income tax liability is expected to be $33,831, with capital gains tax of $2,511 and other income taxes of $14,078. This gives us their net of tax for 2024 projected to be about $235,590 and an effective tax rate of 17.63%. And we were able to use eMoney to project out their expected tax liability for 2024 and get these estimations, which will be helpful in understanding where we think they'll be at the end of this year due to their tax situation. Let's take a look now at their sources of income for 2024, as well as what kinds of things help improve their tax situation. So first of all, as mentioned in their previous slide, their primary sources of income for 2024 are Mark's salary and Debbie's inherited IRA, as well as additional income from capital gains, dividends, and interest, which will factor into their total income for 2024. So what helps improve their tax situation? Well, a few things. Number one, retirement contributions. Those help lower their taxable income. They also help them save for retirement, a win-win situation. Secondly, mortgage interest on their primary residence. So that gives them a deduction in their tax status. So that helps them in their tax situation as well. Thirdly, charitable contributions, also a deduction. So that helps them reduce their tax liability. And lastly, medical expenses, depending on the percentage of their adjusted gross income, can also help reduce their tax liability. Let's take a look now at their total income and income sources. So this chart here includes both pre-retirement and post-retirement years. And we can see a major shift in their sources of income in these two different phases. Let's begin with their pre-retirement years. So this will be 2024 to 2026. And we can see here, as indicated in blue, that they have income of about $300,000, primarily from Mark's salary at Texas Tech University, which is their earned income. As I mentioned, that's here in blue. They also have some investment income that comes from Debbie's inherited IRA. That's indicated here in orange. And lastly, some capital gains indicated here in purple. So those are the 3 years preceding retirement. Again, we expect them to have income about $300,000. Now, moving into retirement, there is a significant shift here in their sources of income, and this begins in year 2027 and then goes for about 3 decades to estimated end of life for Debbie Brown. And we can see here that in this beginning year of retirement, they have taxable Social Security, investment income, and some capital gains income. Those are the primary sources of income beginning in 2027 when Mark's expected to retire. And then moving throughout retirement, we can see that primarily they'll be dependent on Social Security income as well as investment income. And this is important to note because we want to know what kinds of income they'll have in order to determine the overall tax liability that they'll have. Different sources of income are taxed at different rates, and so that's why this chart is so helpful in understanding where their income is coming from. And it also shows about how much income we can expect through each year of retirement for them. Next, let's take a look at their projected marginal tax rate. So we want to help them reduce their tax liability as much as possible, and being able to stay below a specific marginal tax bracket is always helpful. And this chart here is extremely helpful in helping us understand and project their marginal tax rate throughout retirement. So we have a number of different lines here as well as a number of bars on this chart. So the turquoise bars are their income tax base, and then each line is a respective marginal tax bracket. So the lowest line here is the 10% marginal tax bracket indicated in pink, and then we have the 12 to 15% marginal tax bracket in green, the 22 to 25% marginal tax bracket in orange, and the 24 to 28% marginal tax bracket in blue. And then finally, in a light green color is their 32 to 33% marginal tax bracket. We can see from this graph that the majority of the time they are in this 24 to 28% marginal tax bracket. However, there is about a 5 or 6 year span when they are in the 32 to 33% tax bracket. So what we want to do is try to reduce their tax liability by keeping them in the lower marginal tax brackets. We're going to pay attention to these projected years of increased tax liabilities, which will be about 2037 to about 2042 or so. And what we want to do is try to even out their tax liability in those years. Now let's move on to looking at their estate planning portion. So this shows us their gross estate. The gross estate is the value of their assets at time of death or within about 6 months of their time of death. So here we can see primarily 2 colors. The green is their net to heirs, or what their heirs would expect to receive. And then the orange is their taxes and expenses from their gross estate, also marked by this blue line. So this gives us an idea of the value of their gross estate if they were to pass away in any given year. So as of 2024, the value of their gross estate is about $3 million. And we can see that over time, it's expected to decrease, and that's simply because, number one, the Browns mentioned that they don't have any specific goal around leaving a targeted amount to their heirs, and secondly, we expect them to draw down quite a bit of their assets over retirement. So this is a breakdown here of Mark's estate. We currently have a value of about $2,086,000. So he has a joint brokerage account, joint checking account, joint savings account, 2020 Lexus RX, 403B plan, and ORP, his Roth 457, and then his portion of the personal residence at about $887,000. And then from those we subtract Debbie's car loan of about $13,600 and Mark's car loan of about $9,400, and this gives us his total estate value of about $2,086,000. Here we have Debbie's estate, which has a total value of about $841,000. Included in her estate is her 2022 Lexus ES, their joint checking account, their joint brokerage account, Debbie's inherited IRA, Mark's 2020 Lexus RX, their joint savings account, and her portion of the personal residence at about $187,000. And excluded from these values is Debbie's car loan of about $13,600. Given this, we end up at a total estate value for Debbie's estate of about $841,000. One chart that is particularly helpful is the estate plan flowchart. An estate plan flowchart gives us an idea not only of the process of transferring assets, but also the value of those assets at time of death. Here we have Mark's estate, currently valued at about $2 million, and it includes his joint assets of $373,000 and titled assets of about $1.7 million. So if he were to pass away, all of that would transfer to Debbie's estate, and then that would put the total right around $3 million. An important note is there is an unlimited marital deduction, and so all of these assets would transfer tax-free to Debbie, or vice versa if she were to pass away first. And then from there, and once they have both passed away, the assets would transfer to their heirs. We're looking at about $2.2 million that would transfer to them, less taxes and expenses. However, it's important to remember there is a gift tax exemption for 2024 that is $13,610,000. So that would also come into play during the estate transfer process. Ultimately, our goal here is to help the Brown family maximize their disposable income and reduce their tax liability, as well as ensure the effective and efficient transfer of their assets in order to continue their family legacy. So we hope that as they sail off into the retirement sunset, that they can live their most rewarding and fulfilling lifestyle yet.